Ryan Ghere.
Ryan, tell me a little about yourself.
I teach high school math at Mattoon High School and teach all sophomores. And I'm the varsity boys basketball coach, the varsity boys soccer coach, and the varsity girls soccer coach. So I spend a lot of my time coaching, and my hobbies, I enjoy hunting, deer hunting, duck hunting, and we have a place at Lake Mattoon, so I enjoy water skiing and just kind of hanging out at the lake and lounging around. I'm 46, and this season is supposed to be my 4th year as the varsity basketball coach here at Mattoon. I played soccer and basketball when I was at Mattoon, and I was a pretty good soccer player. Probably could have gone on and played a little bit and graduated with a lot of the scoring records for the high school. It was only like a 6-year-old program when I graduated, so it was in its infancy. And then basketball-wise, I got really lucky the time that I was at Mattoon High School from 89 to 92. We had some really good teams with some really good players, like Kevin Trimble, Chris Hollander, Mark Aguilar, Chris Wetzel, some guys who went on and played college sports. And 4 years we had a really good basketball team under Bob Lockhart was our coach through my junior year, and then Jim Broska my senior year. I think the biggest one, probably our biggest rival when I was in high school, was at Rantoul. It's not nothing special about the gym, but I think we just had really competitive games. We had 2 games there. One game my senior year, we scored in the hundreds, both teams. We beat them and set the school record for most points in a game, which is I think like 108. And then my other favorite place to play was back then was down at Effingham High School when they played, which is now the middle school. And we'd go down there and play, and the gym would just be packed. The fans are right on top of you. So that was probably my favorite place to play.
Favorite game to be a part of in high school?
Probably senior year against Rantoul at Rantoul. They had Kareem Richardson, who went on and played at Evansville, where Hollander went and played. So they played against each other in that high school game. And back and forth, not a lot of defense. Both teams in the hundreds, and we somehow found a way to win. I think it was like 108, 102, something like that. I got done with high school and decided I was going to be an accounting major. So I went to the University of Illinois and, got to go up there and, gave up sports and just became a kid, and a college kid, had a lot of fun. And, it was a great time. Joined a fraternity up there and hung out there a lot and just enjoyed 4 years of college.
How did you get the Mattoon coaching job for basketball?
Well, I've been an assistant for years. I helped Bob Lockhart for years. And we have 4 kids. So we had a couple kids. Jake and Shane were young, so I got out for a year or 2, and then got back in and missed it. And then we had Lily and Maggie, so I got out again. Then I got back in, just missed it again. So, and then, the last year that Bob was here, and then he resigned. I applied for the varsity job. They didn't give it to me because I was already coaching varsity boys and girls soccer at the time. So I think they thought that was a little much. So I got out of basketball again after that. And then when Jake was going to be a sophomore, well, I guess I coached the boys' travel teams when they were in 5th to 8th grade. And then Jake was going to be a sophomore, and they didn't have an assistant coach. So I got in to be an assistant coach. And then Jake's sophomore year, I was the assistant. And then junior year, 3 days before the first game, Coach Forsyth resigned, and I was there. So, just happened that way. It wasn't planned by any means. And, that's the way it started, and it's gone well ever since. I think it was a couple years ago we had 3 or 4 games come right down to the wire. Back to Rantoul again, like when I was in high school, we played up there 2 years ago. We're down 2 with 3.5 seconds to go. We call timeout, draw, play out of bounds, and Dalton Compton hits a 3 from the corner. We win by 1, get out of there and steal a win. That's probably one of them. Same year, we're tied with Charleston at the end of regulation. We draw up a play. Jaden O hits a 3 to beat them on their court right at the end of regulation. That was one of the fun ones. Probably that same year, Taylorville, we were down 25 in the 3rd quarter and came storming back and ended up winning by like 8. Just played unbelievable second half. So those probably would be my top 3.
How good of an athlete Drake Jeffries was, how high he could jump, and how good a shooter he was. But when you were an assistant here, he was a senior. Tell me about what that was like coaching him.
He's one of those kids who just works really hard. That's probably, and his attitude was just really, really good. I was assistant his senior year. I got to watch him play when I was just teaching there, but assistant his senior year. And then he had that knee injury right before Christmas, so he had to sit out for about 4 weeks. Just see how devastated he was with that. But he worked so hard to get back. But yeah, he just a tremendous athlete, and it's just great to see him that he gets to just keep playing and keep getting better every year.
Who are some of your assistant coaches?
Well, I've had, since I started, Jordan Coleman is my JV coach. He's a school psychologist at one of the grade schools in town. So, he does a real good job, relates well to the kids. Cody Brand is our freshman coach. He works at UPS, so this is kind of just like a side job for him, and he's been with us since I started. He was with us the year as an assistant. He's our freshman coach. And then we've been real lucky to have Chris Considine. He's a financial advisor in town for Wells Fargo, and he volunteers his time, gets to practice when he can, but he's there on the bench, and he's kind of my right-hand man during the games, always in my ear.
If you wouldn't have been the Mattoon basketball coach, what would you have done instead?
I'd still probably be coaching boys and girls soccer. I enjoy doing that. I'd be hunting a lot more in the winter over Thanksgiving and stuff like that, just because that's a passion of mine. But, I'd kind of given up on the varsity basketball thing 10 years ago. And, so again, it just kind of fell in my lap. So, I'd just be moving on and doing what I'd done the years prior. So, it wouldn't have been a heartbreaker, but it's something I love to do.
Who are some of your biggest role models?
I'd say one of the guys who had the most influence on me was probably Bob Lockhart. I played for him freshman through junior year, and then coached with him for a dozen years probably, and taught with him. And so just not as a coach, but as a teacher, and sitting in meetings with him, and just learning a lot from him, how to handle different situations. And the basketball is not the most important thing. We're teaching these kids life skills. That was his big thing. And then the other one would probably be my parents. My dad was a JV basketball coach when I played. He actually coached with Bob. He's friends with Bob too. And just growing up with him as a teacher and as a coach, just kind of seeing the way he does things and learning.
What obstacles do you face while being the head coach?
I think time's the biggest one. If I have any difficulty, it's just time, because I just move from one sport to the next. So that's probably the biggest one, and then trying to balance life with 4 kids and a wife, and still pay the majority of my salary is to be a math teacher, so just balance, keeping everything the way it's supposed to be, and keeping everything balanced, and still getting everything done. Basketball takes a lot of time, but with all the film, I think Huddle's made things easier because of collecting films, but it's also made things a lot harder because you can get ready for an opponent and you can have 10 films on them, and I feel like I got to watch them all. So that's probably the biggest thing, is just the amount of time that it takes.
Favorite gyms to coach in besides Mattoon?
Probably Taylorville, just because of the history behind it and the old gym, and you still got you can't see if you sit in certain seats because of the beams in your way and all that, and I like the old school mentality of that. But the other one, it seems like we play as many games down at T-Town as we do at home with the shootout and the Christmas tournament. So that's kind of our home away from home, and we've been really successful there. Not against T-Town, but against other teams. And I just like the atmosphere when you go in there. The banners hanging from the wall or from the ceiling. It's just if kid can't get up to play in T-Town, they can't get up to play anywhere.
Tell me about some of the relationship you built with some of the officials around here.
Right. Basketball-wise, I haven't done it very long, so the relationships haven't come. But like soccer-wise, I got some guys that have officiated for 20 years, and I know they have an impossible job. They're trying to keep everybody happy and keep the game fair. But, basketball officials, they probably even have it tougher than soccer officials because the fans are right there on top of them. But, probably the biggest thing is we have Sam Bradbury's a big kid, and he just gets hung on all the time. So, I'm always barking at officials to give Sam a call here and there. It's not his fault that he's bigger than everybody. Probably the thing I say to him most often is how would you like to officiate with somebody just hanging on you the whole night for 32 straight minutes like he does? And officials don't seem to think that's very funny. But if they had to deal with what he had to deal with the whole time, that's probably the biggest thing I give him a hard time about. But
favorite team to have coached in your 4 years as a basketball coach?
Probably 2 years ago. Prinko, Spitz. My son Ryan Ghere, Connor Barnes, a group, we won 19 games. I'd give anything to have one more and have a 20-win season. But, just good personalities, super hardworking kids, and very coachable. And, we won a lot of games, had a lot of success. But, man, when games came down to the wire, I think we had 4 or 5 games that year that we won in the last minute, and just made everything, just made the year go great.
Favorite team to play against and why?
Probably Charleston, anytime we play them. And it doesn't matter what, it's cliche to say, but it doesn't matter what the records are. It's just the gyms are packed. I mean, if every kid got to experience something like that in their lifetime, to be able to play in front of a crowd like that. So, always competitive. Like two years ago, we beat them by 30 the first time we played them, and then we had to beat them on a last-second shot when we played them over there. So, and then this past year, the same way, they beat us in overtime at their place, and then we ended up beating them by like 20 the second time. So, anytime we play them, it's competitive and it's just fun to play.
What about coaching do you enjoy so much?
I think just being around the kids in a different way. I love teaching. I love having kids in the classroom, but when you're a coach, just seeing them every day in just that small environment where there's only 15 to 18 of them, getting to know them so well, and just to see them grow, from their freshman year to their senior year. And, I think that's why I do so much. I coach 3 seasons, and I just like being around kids. I like being around the competitiveness and teaching them life skills and just hanging out with the kids. And I think they keep me young.
What about you that not a lot of people know?
Probably that I'm at the lake nonstop, and not very many people can do this, that I can barefoot water ski. So I learned how to several years ago. I didn't do it this last year because of some injuries, but yeah, jump in behind a boat with no skis on and tell them to go, and they get up to about 41 mile an hour and skip across the water on your feet. It's something I love to do, and not very many people know that I do it. I'd just like to thank all the support we've had. The parents, a lot of times coaches and parents butt heads and everything. I think we've had a good relationship in Mattoon. The parents have been real supportive. Our community's been real supportive. We've just really tried to get Mattoon basketball kind of back on the map because we've struggled for so many years. 19 wins 2 years ago was the most wins we'd had since '92. I just think the support of the community and, the support of the whole area, the Effingham, I know you're from Effingham and T-Town area, and just going down there and playing in the 2 tournaments and the shootout every year. When I took over this job, the amount of people that came up and wanted to help and said that anything I need, let them know, from the coaches at T-Town to the officials to the people running the tournaments. Mike Wilson's been a huge help. He and I text weekly during the season. So, just all the people in the area that have just really helped me be successful, which in turn has helped our team be successful.
Ryan Ghere, the Mattoon head basketball coach in his 4th year. Ryan, I really appreciate hearing your story, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.